about how unique the project is, and what makes the idea or partnership innovative and distinctive from others, such as groundwork.
Well, if I can start, I will try and answer that, and then if any of my colleagues can join in if they have anything to add. I think the main thing that I would say is that this is a project that has ongoing sustainability in terms of its commitment, ongoing in terms of the maintenance of anything that we develop and deliver. The projects are wide-ranging in terms of their scale. They're wide-ranging in terms of their investment, and in terms of the approach in Gateshead, this is not obviously, as I said earlier, very much what we do. This isn't seen as a pilot project or something that will be parachuted in and then perhaps left. We're very much embedded in the community, and we obviously want to look after the projects that we've delivered and maintain them throughout the future. So that's one aspect that I think obviously we're very keen to promote and very proud of in Gateshead.
Hello, it's Colin here, Helen. Just to add to that, what I can say is that the unique side of this side of the project is actually the fact that the council has restructured itself to be more area-based and sort of think of communities on a local level as such. And in waste services and grounds maintenance, we restructured our whole traditional type services, so what was street cleansing and grounds maintenance is no more. They're called neighbourhood services, and we deliver aspects of the service in relation to the neighbourhood requirements. Now, one of the things that quickly established itself when we did that was sort of the community engagement, the link to the housing company and the neighbourhood management teams. And from that, it was a case of saying, well, it's one of these things where people are saying, you said, we did, we are doing sort of thing, and that's what we've tried to bring out of this whole project. It is a case of, you did say, we have done, we are doing, and we are going to do, and it is quite unique because there's no real parameters as such. There is controls around how the money is actually utilised, but it's about what the community wants. It's about what they actually want to take forward.
I thought your presentation brought out very well the wider partnership working you were doing, and I wondered if there's anything more you could say about the work you're doing, for example, with the fire service or with local health services around some of the outcomes there. Are you looking at all to expand your partnership working in this area? Because it sounds as if there are sort of already steps being taken in this direction.
I think we caught that question in terms of how we involve the partnership beyond the core partners. Yes. Is that correct?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Well, if I can give an example of the work that we do around the Big Tidy Up, which is obviously a national campaign that we're linked to and support very strongly in Gateshead. All of the partners, including the police and the fire service, are integral to our Big Tidy Up approach and provide support services and supporting in terms of involvement in connection with those events. Very often those events are linked to schools, and we will involve the fire service, as I mentioned, in advance of bonfire night in terms of giving preventative work, preventative advice to schools. Police officers will go into the schools as part of those events and talk about community safety issues, and obviously on a strategic level, Gateshead, which is the strategic body in Gateshead looking after community safety. The police and obviously the fire service are integral to that, and they support the Neighbourhood Pride scheme by funding an element of Neighbourhood Pride through that work. So both from a strategic level in terms of resourcing and leadership, as well as a level on the ground in terms of actual delivery, they are heavily involved, and they have been involved in identifying schemes where there's been fly tipping, for example, or antisocial behaviour hotspots. They are involved in those, and in addition, they, through the Problem Solving Fund, which again is run by Safer Gateshead, the police and the fire service have supported enhancing neighbourhood pride schemes through problem solving monies.
measuring the outcomes, your application points to how you're managing to deliver more projects for less money, but I wondered whether you'd looked at sort of what the wider savings or impacts are through your work and how the projects that you're running are reducing demand on services in other areas.
Well, I think perhaps the best example from the Gateshead Housing Company's point of view is the measurement of tenant satisfaction in terms of their appearance and management of the environmental areas within their estates. And as I've mentioned earlier, we've seen improvements in that level of satisfaction, and in terms of levels of involvement and participation, we've also seen improvements in those elements as well, fundamentally linked to the project. So although the projects will deliver some physical changes on the ground, they are complemented and supplemented by a lot of education and involvement work, which obviously enhances the projects.
I think to add to that as well as some further spin-offs, we do have sort of, as Neil's made reference to in his presentation, the fact that we do sort of bi-monthly assessments of what we've achieved. Now that actually goes through in quite detail of how the projects have been successful, what's been the links to the community, what's been the sort of things that we're moving forward. Because if a project is sort of given approval, there is some assurances that the community will continue with that thereafter as well. Further spin-offs to that is being sort of development of the working relationships between the housing company, neighbourhood management and local environmental services. And as an example of that, some of the aspects what the housing company went through with the inspections recently sort of around the environment sort of demonstrated that in real terms there's been a significant difference and a significant increase in the overall improvement of the estates as such. And these areas of land, which sometimes we call them orphaned land or land that sort of nobody wants to take control of, because it is tenure blind, so we do take responsibility for these things. And it is sort of, as Neil said, there is physical things, but there's also performance measures in place as well.